It really was. It's I think, the most iconic shot that I have seen, absent of Jordan making one to be able to finish off the Utah Jazz. But in this situation, a Game 7, I've never seen a bounce quite like that. The ball seemed like when it hit the rim the first time, when it went up, like the ball went half flat. For it to be able to bounce the way that it did twice on this side of the rim.
Shots that hit the rim like that are supposed to now go back towards the shooter as a miss. He hit the front of the rim on that shot, fading away. Like, just the physics of it make it seem like as soon as you see the first bounce, we're going to overtime.
Right, so
that's what it seemed.
Yeah, we've seen buzzer beaters, but I think with the overall story, where we were a year ago, as far as Kawhi Leonard the person, Toronto as a franchise, what they decided to do, trade for an injured superstar who was criticized. I don't know many people that were like me supporting Kawhi. I felt like I had the facts. I felt like I had the accurate doctor's report as far as what happened to him. I knew Kawhi as a person, that he would not do what people were accusing him of doing, faking an injury to be able to force his way out of there. So those things, but it's still a huge chance when you make this trade. And to be able to get to this moment for that fan base and for him to be able to hit that shot after nearly giving him an opportunity where Jimmy Butler, if he would have pulled up and hit a three, we don't know if we have the Kawhi heroics. So for me, the bounce and everything, the franchise, the whole overall story, Nick Nurse as the coach, as an assistant, they decide not only we're going to fire the coach, trade for Kawhi, it validates these moves that they made, Nick.
And I'm really glad you brought up probably the most iconic shot in NBA history, the Jordan over Russell, because this was, on an individual standpoint, not the level of importance, not the level of player, I understand that, but from what he had to do for his team to win that game, this was that Jordan game. Jordan in that basketball game was 15 of 35. His team only scored 87 points. This game had a very similar feel, where it was guys could not make shots.
Yes.
There was one spectacular player who was going to have to say, be damned with efficiency, I'm going to have to do everything. Jordan, as I mentioned, that game was 15 of 35 for 45 points. Kawhi last night was 16 of 39 for 41 points. In that game, Jordan's highest-scoring teammate was Tony Kukoc with 15.
Yep.
Last night, Kawhi was Serge with 14. And that was not a buzzer beater, and it wasn't quite the finality of this moment. It wasn't a Game 7. But this was as close as we've gotten to that moment for a player who, and I'll credit Kendrick Perkins, who said this a few weeks ago, stylistically this whole playoffs has had a lot of elements of Jordan's game, a lot of mid-range, a lot of turnaround, doing it on both ends of the court. And we have been so spoiled in these NBA playoffs. As of 3 weeks ago, there had been 5 shots like this in NBA history. Series-winning buzzer beaters.
Right. Now, I knew this playoffs was special just by watching the eye, how many series. The series that had the least most attention of the last 4 was the Denver series, and we're like, wow, what a treat.
And that was an epic one. That ended up, we'll talk about that later today, but there had only been 5, you could list them. There's Ralph Sampson's against the Lakers in '86. Jordan had 2 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, 1, the iconic The Shot in 1989. Stockton beat the Rockets once with it, and Damian Lillard back in 2014 beat the Rockets with one of these. There have now been 2 in the last 3 weeks. Dame over OKC and Kawhi in this moment. We'd never seen one in a Game 7. Jordan's in a Game 5 was the closest we had seen where it was for both teams, win or go home. And it was an unbelievable capstone to this series for Kawhi Leonard, where aside from Game 5, every game of the series, the story has been when Kawhi's on the court, the Raptors are great, and when he goes to the bench, they fall apart. Last night was more of the same, where Kawhi had to do everything, and he did everything, culminating in that moment.
You sort of glossed over it, but this was the first one in a Game 7. The magnitude of that is huge. So as soon as I saw the shot go in, the first thing I thought of, and I'm sure fans alike, oh, this will convince him to stay. You make a shot like that, the city already embraced you. They love you and adore you. You can be a hero right away. Do you think this impacts Kawhi's decision whether or not he stays in Toronto?
Well, I do know this. I do know that there was a great chance of Toronto re-signing Kawhi. I know that his overall experience, it couldn't have gone better as far as the people not only Danny Green, who they threw in the trade, that was important to Kawhi. He had a familiar face. You know, Danny Green's not playing great, but he's a familiar face. They made some adjustments as far as the staffing. There's another gentleman that's on the staff that assists with Kawhi. That was important. From a medical standpoint, they have the doctor that Kawhi wanted. He works with Kawhi and has worked, and we have seen Kawhi not have any type of setback. So to me, man, life is about experience. And his experience in Toronto has been amazing. And this only helps their case, that they have the right coach. Kawhi, at the end of the game, I thought it was interesting that he said he was down on himself because he missed the free throw. He was down on himself because he felt like he didn't hustle back, because he felt like he could have helped Serge Ibaka block Jimmy Butler's shot to build tie the game. He mentions all those things. He said, but I made up my mind, regardless of what play the coach calls. And that, to me, said Kawhi has the ultimate faith in this organization, in that coaching staff, to put him in a position where he can win. Now he's in the conference final. I mean, if he was in the Western Conference final, we wouldn't be thinking, why would he want to leave there? So I know it's north of the border. I know it's a long shot. But Toronto, to me, is in the driver's seat as far as securing Kawhi and where he's going to play basketball into the future. And also, by the way, Jenna, I think you might like this, they can also pay him $50 more million than anybody.
I like $50 million.
Which always helps. I think this was, you have to look at this from, had they won, especially winning that way, and had they lost. What would the discussion have been if Kawhi had played this exact game, done everything, carried them, but that shot doesn't go in, they lose in overtime, or Jimmy Butler does pull up from three, and they lose a devastating game like that. And then Kawhi's lasting taste going into the offseason is, I carried these guys this whole round. We couldn't get through this round. If I can do this here with my teammates playing like this, I can do this anywhere. And to me, that would have been more incentive for him to leave.
To leave.
Now, instead, it's not only this moment that we just saw, it's the moments he's about to get over the next 2 weeks. Kawhi Leonard has not played into the conference finals since 2014, when they won the title and he won finals MVP. He played game one of the conference finals a few years ago, but got hurt mid-third quarter when Zaza put his foot underneath him. So Kawhi is about to get to play in the biggest basketball games he's played in 5 years. Of course that's going to help Toronto. Of course it's going, him being able to taste this level of playoff basketball that he has never tasted as a superstar. He was a good player in 2014. Yeah. He was far from the team's number one option. I know he won finals MVP, but he did that while averaging in the teens in that series and in that season. Now he gets to play in the conference finals, the only game on every night, as the superstar on a team. He's never had that before, and of course that helps Toronto. This is the type of moment that could be a franchise changer for Toronto, not for this season, but for the next 5 to 8 seasons.
And no matter what happens, it, for some, I'm sure, validates the move that Toronto made, basically renting this player, whether it stays or not. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.